Welcome to the latest podcast of Business Spotlight. I'm joined today by Josh Pitman, who is the Managing Director of Priory Direct. Welcome to the call, Josh.
Thanks very much for having me, Gavin.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Josh, tell us a little bit about Priory Direct, what you do.
So we're a sustainable packaging retailer. What that means is we help e-commerce businesses minimize the impact of their supply chain and packaging choices on the environment.
Right, okay. And sounds very interesting and slightly niche as well, although very much a developing kind of topic, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it might not be as niche as you think. E-commerce is growing very quickly. It's exhibiting sort of 17% compound growth per annum. And it really is a significant contributor. It is still a small part of the UK's retail space. So the peak it reached was around 39%. That was in the pandemic, for obvious reasons, not being able to go to the high street. But a lot of people are surprised when they hear that the percentage of retail that goes through e-commerce is, sub 30% nowadays, because already we're seeing on people's driveways, on the roads in terms of delivery vans, and the driveways in terms of packaging, we're seeing the footprint of that industry in our lives very regularly already, but it's set to grow a lot further, and I think that's really what gives us a real purpose for our business.
And one of your key drivers is environmental sustainability. We mentioned or discussed before we hit record today that you're a fan of Simon Sinek. Tell us a little bit about how he's motivated you in the way that you run the business.
Absolutely. So I mean, Start With Why is the book that I was talking about, and I loved it because I was at this point where I was running to become managing director of Priory. I was marketing manager at the time, and we were very much selling packaging to e-commerce businesses and trying to provide a really reliable service, which we're very good at. We still are, but we didn't have a point of differentiation. And I read Start With Why, and then I read Yvon Chouinard's Let My People Go Surfing, and then Raising the Bar by the founder of Cliff Bar. And all three of those stories overlap in a way. So Simon Sinek talks about how having a purpose gives you a clear North Star for your business, makes all of your decision-making much easier, acts as a motivating force for humans and for everyone involved. Yvon Chouinard was saying how businesses need to be purpose-led and how they're enablers for good in the world, how a business can actually be a huge force for good. And Raising the Bar is very much the same story. He was in his life realizing that as an individual, he could have a certain amount of positive impact, but if he leveraged his business, it was a magnifier or enabler. So having read those three, we were really struggling around to try and find a purpose for the business. And I think I originally settled on supporting SMEs, the backbone of the British economy, which, it was good, but it wasn't super exciting. It didn't really give me a huge amount of purpose. And then I went on a kite surfing holiday and saw a load of plastic on the beach and essentially realized that, hang on, e-commerce is consuming so much material and we're running a business that is supplying that material. So what is our lever? What is our way to have a purpose in the world? It's to help people reduce the impact of their reduce the impact of their e-commerce operations on the environment by choosing better materials, by giving them the science that they need to understand where they can reduce the impact of those materials, how they can ship them more efficiently, make them tessellate, reduce waste in that supply chain. With the size of the e-commerce market set to grow so massively, we believe that we can be really impactful in that space.
And that's where your niche, there'll be others in the same sort of niche, but in terms of looking at the systems within a business of that your values are going to be driven and show through at many levels, aren't they? They're going to show through in your marketing. They're going to show through in how you engage with your suppliers and your customers. They're going to show through in how you recruit your team and work with people around you. Where was the first change? Where did you really start to focus initially in aligning your business with these key values of yours?
But the first change really was to understand the science about what we're talking about. So we needed to understand how different materials scored against each other in terms of their recyclability, the amount of energy used to convert and create them, and the carbon footprint of our own supply chain. We couldn't help our customers make informed decisions without having science to back it up. I was very nervous of greenwashing. So we really wanted to make sure that our recommendations, choices, materials that we chose were backed with science, so that we knew that we were really making sustainable decisions. The second one really was our charity rewards program, which I'm really proud of. So essentially, every customer at PriDirect gets 1% back. It's a standard rewards program. A lot of people have those sort of loyalty schemes. But we made a very small change, which was to allow people to give that 1% to charity in the checkout. Now, some people still take discounts. It's perfectly understandable. But a lot of customers opted to give those to one of our 4 charity partners. So very quickly in the first year, I think £17,000 flowed to charity. It's now about £40,000 a year, which is massive. We're really, really proud of it. And it just added an element of purpose and triple bottom line. So, we had planet built into our products and our approach, but we didn't really have people and impact on society. And so that's where our charity partnerships came in.
Sounds really interesting. When a company's, thinking about the impact that they're having, when a potential customer of yours is thinking about the impact they're having on the planet, I would imagine that they probably start with an idea, which is that they want to be in a better place, but they're not really sure how to get there. So is part of your work also educating your potential customers on what you can bring to their business and why?
Massively so. And from my point of view, in this space, it's really key to know that perfect is the enemy of progress, because I think a lot of people are very, very afraid of taking steps down that journey rather than getting to the end point straight away. We need to be perfect across the board before we say anything about this journey. And I think everybody can improve somewhere or somehow. So essentially, the conversation that we often have with businesses is that let's look at your supply chain and your packaging choices and see how we can optimize those. But the cascade effect that then happens is, hang on, well, what else can we think about? If we're making good choices here and presenting that to the customer, then maybe we need to choose a green energy provider. Maybe we need to look at our own charitable partnerships. So I'm hoping that we have that positive impact on our customers. And one other thing that we're a huge advocate of is we're a certified B Corp, very, very proud to be members of that group of businesses. And there's a framework that B Corp provide to really assess how you're doing as a business across the key areas of governance, people, the business model, your sustainability and supply chain. And their B Impact tool, the impact assessment, is a free tool. And it asks, 90 brilliant questions about what you're doing as a business to be more sustainable and ethical. And really, we always talk about it, and we just say to businesses, look, guys, there's a free tool here. Even if you're afraid of starting that journey, have a look at the impact assessment. You may find that you're doing better than you think in some areas, but also it will highlight very clearly the journey that you could be on to improvement.
Wow. You see me smiling all the way through that for me already now, and it's really fantastic. It sounds to me, to some extent, that you're coaching your prospective partners rather than putting solutions on the table to them and trying to get your customers to fit your solutions. You're working with where your customers are and moving them forwards, incremental change.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because I think it's part of our network effect, and where we think collaboration is absolutely key to a more sustainable future. Yeah. So knowledge, we believe, is there to be shared. Let's have that conversation. It's not all of our customers. Some of our customers are already well on that journey. They're certified B Corps. They're brilliant businesses. Yeah. They're businesses that we can learn a lot from. So, we work with Vivo Barefoot. We're super proud to be supporting them. And, they were very early on creating a circular proposition for their shoes. So they recapture them at end of life, refurbish them. They have a whole Revivo project. And actually, off the back of that project, we introduced second-hand boxes. So we had waste leaving the site, which were boxes that perhaps had tape on them, labels, or what have you. But for some businesses, especially in the internal logistics space, where they're just bulk distributing to stores, they're not worried about presentation. So instead of recycling them, we now have a range of second-hand boxes. And I think just meeting with a business that were embracing a circular project. I think a lot of businesses don't self-reflect and go, well, hang on, is there anything we can do in that space? So it does work both ways.
Fantastic. So it's clear that people are that have an interest in what you do. You've got a questionnaire to get them started, and evaluation type exercise. Where next for the business, Josh? Where do you want to take it?
Well, we're on a mission to minimize the impact of the e-commerce industry as a whole. So you know, how far down that line do you go? Where next? So there's two exciting projects, I guess, that are going on right now. We do knowledge transfer partnerships with the University of Kent. They're funded by Innovate UK. I would advocate everybody look at that as a source of support for their business and a great way to collaborate with academia. So we do a lot with the University of Kent. So there's two things that we're working on there. One is a material resource planning module, which is essentially a way to understand our customers' consumption rates, because we have a lot of them, with 21,000 businesses we support. A way to understand their consumption rates that will allow us to develop a more efficient manufacturing and supply chain journey for them and maintain better continuity of supply. So that is a 2-year employment of a PhD graduate with 2 associates at the university supporting them. It's government funded, and it's, you know, really proud of that project. And the other one is we're very close to finishing our life cycle assessment standardization for all of our products, so that we have a carbon footprint, acidification, eutrophication, photochemical ozone creation. We have a 4-piece investigation of the impact of each item of packaging that we sell, so that we can really empower that data-driven approach to improvement. So those are sort of 2 key projects. In the future, I'd love to have a standardized LCA that we could use to understand all e-commerce operations and help them make better sustainability choices, not just in their packaging, but how they're running their business and moving goods around as a whole. Because I think supply chain is a huge consumer of energy and materials, so really an area to get excited about improving. And obviously, we love our charitable partnerships. We've now protected over 6 million square meters of rainforest with the Rainforest Trust. So, you know, any growth and progress we make, the beauty of being purpose-led is that that growth will have, it will have a positive impact. So, yeah, that's probably where I'd say we're going.
Josh, it's been absolutely fascinating listening to and hearing about what you do and why you do it. Thank you very much for spending the time to talk to us today. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Gavin. Thanks very much.